Hello everyone, this is Azraelis. We are back again and we're going to be talking about another build today in Project Ascension. This one is a holy DPS build. And yes, I've got a green screen. Thank you to all of you who donate to the channel. I really appreciate it. You get me things like green screens and pop filters and covers for my mic and all sorts of cool stuff. You guys rock. I really appreciate it. So this is Azraelis. You get it? Anyway, this is a holy damage build, straight up DPS, holy DPS, and I know I've showed one of these in my original Project Ascension build, but that character has since changed to something completely different. This one was built from the ground up to be holy DPS, and I want to talk about it. Once again, we are at that like 52, mid 50s range, early 50s, mid 50s kind of range, because I do plan to go back and do more follow-up videos. You could see in that list there's quite a few of them that I have actually gotten up to 70 and have done Outlands and stuff. I like showing people these before Outlands and then later showing after Outlands. Because to be honest, there's a lot of things. Like one of the characters that I was trying to do was a blend of melee and spell power. Like going into the shaman build, you know, where you get into enhancement, you get things like mental dexterity and mental quickness. And as soon as I went out to Outlands, it fell off. Just hard fell off really bad. Its DPS just fell to the wayside to everyone who had even a slightly more conventional build. He was falling behind just everybody, even tanks and stuff. Just falling behind massively. So I actually had a video uploaded for that character, and I ended up deleting it again off of the upload list because it just wasn't worth showing. People would go and they'd be like, oh, that's really cool, because it is a really cool idea. And then they would get to Outlands and be like, Az lied to me, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to share that. It just completely fell apart once I went out to Outlands. So this one is actually pretty darn cool. And it follows the same guidelines as some of my other builds, so I'm well aware that it will just get stronger out there in Outlands, because there's pretty much the whole build is there. Just like my my nature damage build, the Verdant Mage, it scaled extremely well into Outlands content. It has always been really strong. That build has just been really strong. It performs perfectly fine. It's a great AoE class, a great single target class. It does great. It just gets stronger when you go out into Outlands. This one is in that same position, hence why it's like level 52, and I want to show it to you guys. Let's actually run over to the training dummy so that I can show you the rotation. Right down here, you'll see we're running Holy Fire, we're running Smite, and we're running Holy Shock. I used to have Exorcism in this build, but Exorcism just doesn't do what you need it to do. It's a nice stopgap. Like before you get Holy Shock, which shows up in the Paladin Holy Tree, down here at whatever this is, level 40? Yeah, level 40. So before that, you could definitely use Exorcism, but it kind of, it's nowhere near as useful. Exorcism is nowhere near as useful once you get Holy Shock, because Holy Shock's going to do what you need it to do. So what is really cool about this build, and one of the first things you got to accept, is that in some situations you are going to deal less damage. And that's because you are actually going to be having a pretty decent amount of healing coming out of it as well, which you will see. So if you are dealing less damage than other people, don't worry about it. As long as you are getting very close, you're also serving another purpose, which is you're alleviating stress off of your healer. You're going ahead and you're throwing out AoE heals, which you will see here in a second. So let's start this out. Our AoE rotation is Light's Hammer, which is a really cool ability. While I'm explaining this, I'm going to throw it out there so you can see it. I like this ability a lot. I think it looks cool. You huck a hammer over there, and as you can see, It heals your teammates in the AoE, and it deals damage to all of the targets inside of that as well. It is really cool. I like it a lot. Then what? Oh, thanks. Uh, we've got lights hammer. Sorry, I got distracted by that person. We've got lights hammer, consecration, and holy nova. So as soon as this cooldown comes down, I'll go ahead and I'll run up here and do the AoE. It's pretty simple. As your tank goes in and grabs the threat on the targets, you want to go ahead and huck your lights hammer. So you huck your lights hammer, you come up here, you drop your consecration aura, and then you start spamming holy nova. And that's really your whole entire deal. One of the things you'll notice down here is this surge of light. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, because you want to pay close attention to that surge of light as well. Surge of light is coming from the priestry. Was it priestry? Yeah. Down here in holy. Your direct damage and healing spell criticals have a 50% chance to cause your next smite or flash heal spell to be an instant cast and cost no mana. They do 60% more damage to monsters, but are incapable of critical hits. There is also an enchant that you can get that will also go ahead and make it so that this can actually critical hit. So keep that in mind. I haven't been able to grab it because I've only found it on greens so far, and you can't extract things from greens. So I come over here. I'm going ahead. I'm going to do my single target like boss rotation. I'm going to pop both of my cooldowns here, and then Holy Fire straight into Holy Shock, because Holy Shock actually increases the amount of crit I do against a target. See, Guiding Strike, chance to be critically hit. Boom. And what you're going to notice is as I'm going, you're going to see, come on, do it. Let me get another Holy Fire up here. Boom. Instant casts. They just kind of show up. Just boom, instant casts out of nowhere. And then you keep up your holy shocks, and you will just occasionally just get instant casts on your smite. It's pretty strong. It is. Oh, I'm not even buffed. Oh, yeah, I am. I'm buffed. Okay. So, very, very simple, very straightforward DPS rotation. You've got 3 AoEs that you're managing. You've got 3 abilities that you're managing. Single target abilities. It's very, very simple. Holy Fire, Holy Shock, Smite. Use Holy Fire and Holy Shock on cooldown. And then just spam Smite. Really, really cool. I have been enjoying it quite a bit. We have a lot of bonus damage. We've got a decent amount of bonus healing. And as you could see, it was quite a bit. You actually do quite a bit of healing. 294, 209, and you're hitting everyone in the area. Same thing with Light's Hammer. 305, 322. You're not focused into healing abilities. You're focused into damaging abilities. And so having this level of healing coming out is just kind of like icing on the cake. So keep that in mind. All right. So the build from start to finish. We're going to start in Discipline on Priest. We're going to grab Twin Disciplines. This gives us 5% spell critical strike chance and damage on all our holy spells. Then we have Meditation, 25% of our mana to continue regenerating while we're casting. And then your spell critical strike rating is increased by 15% of your spirit. Let me bring this up so you can see over here. You see how close these two numbers are? This is the hard part for building a good holy damager. Mental strength. This is going to increase our intellect by 10%, reduces the magic damage taken by 3. So we're just getting some extra intellect out of there. Then Divine Spirit is the only spell we're taking from Discipline. Now on Holy, we've got Smite, Holy Nova, and Holy Fire. We've got Searing Light, increase the damage of your smite, Holy Fire, Penance, Holy Nova, Holy Shock, and Exorcism spells by 15% and reduces the mana cost of your Holy Nova by 25%. Very, very good. Then Surge of Light, which we've talked about already. We want that. That's just a great little chunk to have. Then in Paladin, we go over to Holy, obviously. Consecration, we're taking Concentration Aura, because remember, we have 25% of our mana regeneration. And then now this is going to give us, we're going to lose 50% less casting or channeling time. So instead of blowing a bunch of points, talent points, into something that's going to make it so that it keeps us from being interrupted while we're casting, or at least delayed while we're casting, this is going to go ahead and give us some of that, 50%, but also it's going to do that for the rest of our team. So that can be, to me, that's well worth it. It really lines up with the whole entire thing. I do have Seal of Righteousness. It's not really that necessary, to be perfectly honest. You don't need this. It's not like you're going to be main hand attacking anyway. There's another one, wherever it is. Is it Justice? No. There's another one in here that does, was it in Retribution? I don't remember. But there's one in here that allows you to deal holy damage to like 2 other targets while you're attacking. I don't remember where it is. I could have swore it was Seal of Justice, but it's not. I don't remember where it is, but there's better options if you really wanted to have something like that. But it's unnecessary. This Seal Mastery, it's totally unnecessary. What we have in here is Divine Intellect, 6% increase intellect, and increases the critical strike chance of our holy spells by 3%. Then we've got increases Holy Power, which increases the damage of our holy spells and abilities by another 6%. Then we've got Holy Shock, and we've got Holy Guidance, which is another really important one. Increases the healing spell power and holy spell power by 12% of your total intellect. And the capstone bonus is your holy shocks now make your target susceptible to spell criticals. There you go. That's that thing that was adding that 5% increase spell critical. So really synergizes well with itself. It's all about, it is just a full-blown caster holy spec. DPS caster holy spec. It's a lot of fun. So to bolster this some more, we're going to go into Mage. Obviously grab Arcane Intellect. You could take whatever else you want. I like having Blink because I'm an old school Mage player. The only difference in here from my other builds is I haven't taken the 3 points into here. I haven't taken Arcane Mind. The reason is because I wanted a little bit more efficiency, but I am going to tell you right now, I very well might come back here and use this. Because right now I am getting 6% reduced cost of all spells from Mind Mastery. But I can get more intellect and more spell damage from taking this. So it is very likely that I will, but I'm missing something that we'll talk about here in a sec. That I don't need now, but I will need once I'm out in Outlands. Student of the Mind, increase our total spirit by 15%, and your spell damage is increased by 15% of your spirit. You can see that we are going hard on int and spirit, the combination of the two. That's really important for this build. Then we've got spell power, because we need that 100% increase to our critical strike, critical strike damage, if we want to be an effective ranged caster build. But even more important than that is the capstone bonus. We want this specific capstone bonus, because the other ones, there's lots of different things in here that give us a capstone bonus on this 100% increased critical strike damage kit. This one is what we want specifically, because you have to read very carefully. Originally, I was going to grab Elemental Fury, but when you read the capstone bonus, with the final rank of this talent, your nature damage is increased by 8%, and other magic is increased by 5. And you're like, oh, cool, that's what I want. While clear casting from elemental focus is active. So you go down here and you look at elemental focus after landing a critical strike with a fire, frost, or nature damage spell. It's not going to work for us because all we're doing is holy. So I looked at some of the other ones that are available. I believe there's one in the Warlock tree as well. Was it Destruction? I don't remember where that other one is. There it is. The final rank of this talent increases your fire and shadow damage. So once again, not useful for us. The one that is useful is the one from Arcane. Capstone bonus, dealing direct critical damage with a spell or while your mana is below 50%, taps into raw power, restoring 1% of your total mana each second and increasing your magic damage by 10%. And arcane damage by another 5. So, we're going to get that 10% when we're in a long drawn out battle where we're using a lot of our stuff. This is much more likely to take place when we're spamming our Holy Nova because it's going to soak up a bunch of damage. Or it's going to soak up a bunch of mana. So keep that in mind. That's part of the reason that I say I might come back and grab this. Because that's a decent chunk of damage increase. Right now, I'm even more efficient running this direction. But I could go ahead and make myself a little bit less efficient. And then pick up something like, since I already have Evocation, I could pick up something like Innervate. I could probably get myself into a situation where I'm going to utilize this ability even more, is what I'm saying. So I might come back and get this. Then finally, we have Mind Mastery, and we also took Arcane Power. We took Arcane Power and Icy Veins from Frost, because Icy Veins and Arcane Power is an absolute powerhouse of a wombo combo for caster classes. So, what do I need on this build? Well, my crit chance is really good when you look at it, because you got to look at Holy up there at the top of the crit rating thing. My crit is really good, and it's going to get even better because I can just take Molten Armor once I'm level 60. So it's going to make it so that 5%? 15%? 5% of my spirit will go into my crit as well. So that's going to help out with my crit even more. So I'm going to get even more crit than I already have. It's hit. That's the problem. I don't have as much hit as I need. You can see I'm down there. I'm at 4%. I need to be at like 8 or 10 or 12, like that kind of a range. Because 14% is to never miss a raid boss. You don't necessarily need that much, but I like to be, depending on the class and the speed at which I cast and the efficiency of which I cast magic, I usually want an 8 to 10, or if I'm very inefficient, even as high as a 12. Because that means that I really need to hit the spells that I cast, because they cost a lot. So right in that range, that's where I'm hoping to be. I don't have that. This is why I like showing these builds right before Outlands, because this tells you the decisions that I need to make. I'm saving these 3 points that I would normally put in here because I want to make sure that I have enough hit in the end before I go blowing more points into dealing more damage. I deal perfectly fine damage right now, which means that as I get better gear, I'm just going to do more and more and more damage. So, keep that in mind. You want to go ahead and you want to prioritize, but you also want to kind of think about what's around the next, what's behind the next door for your character, because then you'll know whether or not you're wasting your time. Like in the sense with that character I was talking about at the start of this video. I would have been able to figure that out had I been thinking a little bit ahead of the curve. I would have been able to realize that that build wasn't going to work. So there is a unforeseen piece of the puzzle here, and that is this build is actually it's actually pretty difficult to go ahead and gear for. You might have to, like, I dare say, you might have to try this a couple of times to get it to work right. Because when you're going into dungeons and stuff and you're getting those treasure chest rewards to get your gear, you really want int on a spellcaster that's int based. But in a build like this, you really want spirit as well. Like a lot. Because remember, we're getting spell power off of our spirit. No, your spell critical strike rating is increased by 15% of your spirit. Right here. We're also getting, where was that? There was another scaling. Oh yeah, in mage. We're also getting spell damage off of our spirit. We could also go into druid and pick up something like moonkin form. This is 4 points though. There's a reason I've been shying away from moonkin form. It is very strong. It's very possible that it could be much, much better than running some of the other things that I've done in like the verdant mage and stuff. But that is 4 points to reach what you want to have. You don't just want moonkin. You want moonkin and the 3 points into improved moonkin. So it's kind of rough. It is. When you're going through, you need to sit there and go, okay, I've gotten some of the things that I want that are intellect based. Now I need to roll the dice opening these chests on getting spirit stuff. And then you kind of want to flip flop because you want to have these pretty close to each other. You want those pieces of gear that are going to give you both int and spirit. Because they're what's going to net you the most gain. But at the same time, like you look at this piece right here, this was better than the other options, even though it's stam, int, spell power, hit, crit. You really got to weigh out that difference of how you want to do this, because it is very, very important. Now, the only other thing that I would recommend is going with single-handed, one-handed and an offhand weapon. So, or an offhand item. And that's because Holy isn't necessarily designed to be a damage spec. It wasn't intended to be a damage spec. So you definitely want all of the benefits that you can get when it comes to dealing damage. So in my opinion, I would go with the one-hander and an offhand item instead of going with a staff to increase your haste. You'll also notice that in the build, we're going to wrap this up. We're at almost 25 minutes, so we're going to be wrapping this up. You're going to notice that in the build, I haven't taken some of the things that I would normally take on a caster. You know, increases in spell haste, all of that kind of stuff. I did go into Shaman and I did grab Raise to increase my critical strike. I'm saving points in places that I wouldn't necessarily save points. The cast times on holy damage spells aren't that bad, but their damage level per level of the ability is also not quite as high. So the way I looked at it was I was like, that means I want spell damage and crit more than I want haste. I don't need to go ahead and get a bunch of haste because I'm actually going to benefit less off of that haste because there's less of a spell casting time in the first place. You know, like stacking spell haste on everything and then firing pyroblasts might be pretty cool because pyroblast has such a long cast time. You see, not necessarily in the sense of something that has like naturally a 1.4 or 1.5 second cast time. And Smite is, 1.66. Obviously, I would love to have that at like a 1.5, but that's not that big of a jump to be making. So there's a lot of things. And really the big deal, everybody who wants to try out one of these holy builds is going to be getting the gear that you need. Because like I said, you really want, like here's another representation, the Chloromesh Girdle. This was far superior than the other options I had for my belt. 26 spell power. Like it's just 26 raw spell power. The other options I had were giving me like, 8 intellect and X amount of spirit and stuff like that, but much less spell power. It was just a lot better for me to go with a spell power and PvE power. Once we go down here, you'll see where, this one was definitely coming out of a spirit chest. A chest where I chose spirit instead of intellect. 6 intellect, 19 spirit. Those kind of things. So, as the final little tidbit here, and that's enchants, there are plenty, and there's even ones I haven't been able to get yet. Necrotic Holy Fire, that's going to be really, really good for your build. Sanctity of Battle is going to be really good for your consecration. Then is it a Wizard's Consecration? That's another really, really good one. Restores 10% of your base mana, increases your spell power by 21. Really, really cool. There is all sorts of really neat stuff that you can do for these. There was another one I thought I had, but I guess not. Oh, Holy Power. Increase the critical effect chance of your holy spells by 2%. Doesn't stack, but who cares? I mean, you just throw that onto one piece. You're good to go. There is other really, really cool ones. One of the ones I actually do have, but I don't have the money to do, which is right here. Enchants, known. I want to get Purification by Light going on this build, but it is just really spendy to go ahead and get this onto a piece of gear since it's legendary. So I want to get this on a really, really good piece of gear, or at least get it on a random roll. I don't want to have to spend money on this if I don't have to. So, Purification by Light, that's another one that's going to be really sweet. Your damaging abilities have a chance to exorcise your target, leaving an area of light causing holy damage at the target's location. That would be really cool for this build. Was there anything else in here? Sanctity of Battle, I already talked about that. Things like Accurate Holy Novas. That could definitely help. There's other ones that do like Critical Strike on your Holy Novas, damage scaling on your Holy Novas, damage scaling on your Consecration. Lots and lots of options for what to do here. So definitely keep that in mind and keep your eye out. Keep your eyes peeled for on any of your characters. If you were planning on trying this, you got to keep your eyes out for those enchants that you want. So, anywho. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comment section below if you've been screwing around with maybe trying a holy DPS class. Oh, we weren't able to do it in the we weren't able to do it effectively in the regular game of WoW because you can see that there, you would need to have the ability to go into priest stuff and paladin stuff to really get the whole kit. To get the whole meaningful kit. So, that's what we got going on. All right. I remember people who liked to do Shakadins and stuff, but they never really amounted to much. This is a much more well-rounded take on a holy DPS spec that doesn't use melee. So, peace out. Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. I'll see you on the next one.